how do we choose a new ending for ourselves, right? Because I mean, we're at the second month of the new year. I mean, we celebrate New Year twice this year already, right? January 1st, and now it's like February 10th or something, a Lunar New Year, right? For any of you guys who don't celebrate the New Year, man, it's just more, it's the Asian thing, right? The Asian New Year. You know, there's a lot of dragons, there's a lot of things, a lot of lions, a lot of dancing, a lot of food. And it's just another reminder, this is the new year. And it's already been this is like the third week of this new year, right? 2024. And it's like new year, new you, right? Right? Every new year is like new year, new you. Anyone still got the fire of the new year, new you? I do. I mean, raise your hand if you still feel like you feeling like you're a new person. Right? Raise your hand if you do. If you don't, then I mean, I'm sorry. Nothing else I can do there, right? but you know, like when it's new year, you want to make something different. You want to do something different. You want to see some progress. You know, you want to make some movement. I get it. Like this might be a vision for you of something different, right now versus what it was before. And you know, some of us didn't start off very in the right way. Like our beginning didn't start off the right way. But you know, it doesn't matter how we started. What really matters is how we end, right? It's way better. Is always how we end that matters the most. So I remember when I was in college, I met this speaker. So when I was at ULM, I was you know, I was just going about school, and then I heard about this guy, and they were like, "Hey, there's a speaker coming." You know, everybody was going to this guy at the cafeteria to hear him speak. And at the time, I wasn't, you know, I was still learning how to, you know, grow myself personally. So this guy, the speaker, he came to our college to share his life story. I didn't really see him because I was in the back. I heard was the way he was sharing his story, and this wasn't a normal speaker. Okay, this guy was a little different. What I mean different is that he didn't have any arms or leg. He didn't get bit off by a shark. All right, he didn't get, you know, he didn't get into some crazy accident that, you know, took his arms and legs. That didn't happen. His name was Nick Vujicic, I think Vujicic or something. I'm butchering his name, but so it's called Nick, and you can look him up. And Nick Vujicic, I think that's how you say it. But you can check him out on YouTube. He's a great speaker, and when he was sharing his story, you know, he really gave me some perspective of his life. You know, he was born with no arms and legs. Imagine that, right? He came out that way, and the doctor said this boy is not going to do anything with his life. He's not going to be able to walk. He's not going to have a wife. He's not going to have a job. He's going to be useless. The doctor said that to his parents. And so, you know, being a kid with disability, and he is from Australia. So anyone who's from Australia, I'm sure you must have heard of him. Uh, and going through school, he was constantly bullied, right? You ever seen a weird, like that's how humans are. Like we're mean creatures, really. Like we pick on everybody who's different from us or who just seems weird and odd. And that's the craziest thing. I don't know why it's just human nature or instinct. I don't know. But for him growing up, just imagine that he was the target of every single jokes, and he was bullied constantly. Um, you know, and it led him to praying to God for arms and legs. That's what he wanted. Like if you didn't have any arms and legs, you would pray for that. Imagine what would you be praying for if you didn't have it? Right? What are you praying for right now? What do you want right now that you don't have? Is exactly what he's feeling when he was 8 years old. And this led to severe depression, just suicidal thoughts. And, you know, at the age of 8, he wanted to commit suicide. Um, and he shared this story with us. You know, at that time, it was the hardest time of his life. Um, and he really wanted to, you know, just end it because he didn't see a future. He didn't have faith in a better future because all he saw was obstacle in front of him. All he saw was discouragement. All he heard was discouragement. All he saw was walls that was put in front of him. the one place that really he shared that really helped him get through everything was that it was the support of his mother and father. Like they just kept telling him to keep pushing forward, right? And before, in that moment when he was about to, take his life, he came to a realization that he would have been more of a burden to his family being gone, right? He was going to become more of a burden to them if he was gone than being alive. And his mother really helped him realize that his imperfection could be an inspiration for other. So what happened to this Nick fellow, right? Well, this speaker, this guy. Well, he apparently he graduated college. If you guys look him up, man graduated college, double major, right? Not just one major, but he actually double major in finance and accounting. He became a best-selling author, motivational speaker, and he is married and have kids, right? Imagine that. And he speaks all around the world to millions and millions of people, like hundreds of millions of people. And this was like 15 years ago I met him, right? And this guy's I never imagined how powerful his message is, right? This is his message of hope. And why am I sharing this? Because it's not how you start, it's how you choose to end it. Like how you choose your ending. That's what's important. And he really speaks about hope, faith, and just pushing through and not giving up. And I really want to talk about how we want to end our life differently, because some of you right now might not be in a place where you feel like, you know, you started well, right? You might feel like you wasted last week, or yesterday didn't start really well for you, right? Or this morning might not have started right. But it doesn't matter how it starts, it always matter how it ends. Don't let the start decide the ending, right? Choosing to see a better future and choosing to end your day is a process that happens, in a decision, right? And you got to have a little bit of faith, honestly. Like for all of us, if you don't have any faith that your life will be different or your life will change, it's not going to change. And I know that it might seem like change is happening, very slow, right? Change always happens very slow every single day. We're going through the process, but it is happening. It's like brewing inside of you, right? It might seem small. It might seem like it's not making a big impact yet, but it's brewing, right? It's cooking slowly, or like a seed growing slowly inside your heart. So I don't know if you guys remember like the old dial-up era. Anyone who remember dial-up internet, raise your hand. I used to have those dial-up internet when my first before like high-speed internet. Okay, when we first had our first computer, it was a compact computer. It was like 1996 or something like that, and we were able to get a computer. It was like Windows 97 or something. I think yeah, it was 97 when we had a computer. So Windows 97. And my sister friend came over and brought this square plastic disc. It's a square disc. It's called floppy disk. Anyone still remember floppy disk? I did. I still remember that, right? You're old if you remember floppy disk, okay? Some of you guys might not remember floppy disk. But he came and did a few things on the computer. I didn't know what he was doing, and then next thing you know, this thing called Net Zero showed up. Some of you might have AOL, the old school, but I had Net Zero at the time. And every time we were on the internet, the phone line would beep, and my mom would get really upset because she was like, "What if it's your dad's call? What if it's an emergency?" And it'd be busy all the time. Nobody get receiving phone calls. So I was a '90s kid, so that's what happened. But it makes you feel kind of old thinking back. Raise your hand if you feel old. I'm just kidding. Don't raise your hands. But my point is, during that time when you try to download something like a song, when you're bootlegging a song or downloading a movie, it just seems like it's taking forever. It's just like you're like, man, you're watching this, you're like, why is this taking so long? I just want one 5-minute song, and it takes like 5 hours, right, for one song. And you look today, I mean, you literally could watch a movie while you're driving, right? Living on the edge, right? Everybody watch a full movie while they drive. I don't recommend doing it. That's living on the edge. I do not want to take that risk, so don't do it. But my point is, change takes time, right? You don't see it happening right away, but it does takes time. And as time passes, the change will happen much faster, right? Because you're becoming better. That's why change happened much quicker, right? Because you're getting good at something. And so it just seems like, oh man, I'm making momentum, I'm having progress. And so here's a few things I want to talk about, what I've learned from Nick, and hopefully this will help you change the ending in your life, right? The first thing that he talks about was really setting the purpose to be um, service of others, focusing on serving others, right? Making other life better, making someone else lives better will make your life better as well. This is a phrase that I heard a while back. And helping others will always be uh, a way to really fulfill the heart, your soul, and your purpose. Like for example, like for me, the reason why I was able to overcome and continue to push forward was because I wanted to help my family. So for you, who are you trying to help? Like for me, every time I build a business, I'm always telling myself, okay, how do I make my business partner succeed? How do I help him succeed? How do I help them to succeed? Right. So do everything possible to help the business partner succeed. Your business will succeed as well. Be selfless has a greater purpose than being selfish, right? When it's all about you, like it's gonna get old very quick. Like it'll get you to a point, but it'll get old really quick. So think about, who do you want to help? Who are you doing this for? Like, what is the greater purpose than yourself? That's the only way. Um, my pastor, he's a Navy SEAL, and he talks about going through SEAL team training. I don't know if you guys ever seen SEAL training, right? He says from because he also became a trainer as well, the SEAL trainer. So he was the one that he went through the process, and then he also trained people to become a SEAL. And what he told me was, what he recognized was that the people who might seem like they're more athletic, they might seem like they're they're stronger, they seem like they're smarter. At the end of the day, what gave people strength to overcome was the purpose, the greater purpose than themselves, meaning they had a mission that's bigger than them. So what is your mission that is bigger than yourself, right? What mission are you on that's bigger than you? And really, the mission for me is always, I believe, is to serve others above myself. All right. The second thing Nick really talks about is really developing that self-trust, right? Some of you don't know how to trust yourself because you never had an example to follow. But now you guys are old enough, right? Like me, I'm old enough now. I'm aware enough now that I can say that I want to commit to myself. I want to keep words to myself. I want to maintain commitment that I make to myself. Like it could be small, but you don't know how to trust yourself. You don't have self-trust because you make commitment and you break them. So having that self-trust will lead to self-belief and then lead to faith, right? Having faith for a better future, because now you can trust yourself, right? I say I will follow through, I will follow through. That's why it's so important to me when I say I'm going to show up. When somebody asks me, hey, can you show up for this? I say, yes, I will do whatever I can to show up, right? So keep your words. Learn to keep commitments that you make. Focus on the small commitment first. Don't go out and start making big commitments, right? Follow through. Learn to start trusting yourself by keeping your word, right? Develop that evidence of commitment that you can trust yourself. And then through that trust, you have evidence for self-belief, and then self-belief equals more faith. Faith is actually towards the future. Faith happens right now, but you're pulling it from the future, if that makes sense. You're pulling the future change that you believe in, right? Faith is from the future. You're pulling that future to now. And that's what you're believing for. Faith is believing for something that you want to happen in the future. Right. And that lead us to number 3, which is having faith instead of fear. Right. Fear is like a false feeling. It's a feeling of an imaginary future of danger or pain, right? That hasn't happened. That's what we're afraid of, right? Fear is something that we imagine. It's always in the mind. Our fear is always in the mind that maybe something bad will happen, some pain will happen. And when I refer to pain, I'm not talking about getting punched in the face or getting hit by a car. Okay, that's real pain, yes, but there's other pains like pain of failure, pain of not having money, pain of like not being good enough in the future, right? What if I fail in the future? Like that fear, that's what fear is. It's like this false feeling that's made up of, of danger or pain that hasn't happened yet. And when you sit in that, you're gonna bring that fear into your present. And we don't want that. So we gotta have faith, replace fear with faith. And fear leads to bad decision, right? You don't want to make decisions when you're fearful, and you don't. Fear leads to shutting down. Fear leads to inaction. Fear shuts you down. Fear causes you to not take action at all. That's why you got to replace it with faith, because you fear because you don't believe that your life will get any better. That's why you live in fear. But when you have faith, you're reaching towards the future. Remember that. And when you believe that the version of you in the future is possible, that's when you have that faith to continue to push forward. All right. Last thing is you got to believe that you're valuable. That's what he talks about. Nick talks about that everyone is valuable. Every one of us have some value. God didn't just make us to be useless, right? If you were a useless, let's just say if you were an animal that was useless, have you ever seen a useless animal? I think so. A sea cucumber. What do? They look kind of useless, right? Anyone ever seen a sea cucumber? They're in the middle of the ocean. Or like, I don't know, a snail. What does a snail do, right? They crawl around like they seem kind of useless, but no, they have purpose. Every creature, every animal has purpose, has value. So you have to start believing that you are valuable in some way. And if you haven't found your value yet, it will come. Keep looking, right? Keep looking. There is value in all of us. You are not useless. People choose to be useless. So the definition of a disability is a condition that limits people to do something. That's what the definition of disability is. It's not the lack of arms and legs, okay? The biggest disability of all is in the mind. How your life end will be based on the choices that you make today. Right? If you choose to have a negative mindset, if you choose to say that you're useless, if you choose to say that life is not going to get any better, it will. And so most of the time, what we're battling is our mind. And so my point is what Nick is saying, that you are valuable, right? It doesn't matter how you start. It doesn't matter the condition that you grew up in. It doesn't matter where you are now. You are valuable. Every single one of us. Everyone here is valuable. So don't say that you're not, right? It's a choice when you say you're not. So just remember this. Are you going to make the right choice right now? Are you going to make the right choice this week? Are you going to choose how your day is going to end today? Are you going to choose how your life is going to end differently? Are you going to choose not to give up? So you and I didn't grow up with the right conditions, right? The right timing, or the best advantage, right? We weren't born into this cradle of gold, and money and power of wealth, right? We weren't given all the opportunities or the advantages in life. But we were given an opportunity to choose. We have the freedom to choose. We have the ability to change how our life can end. When times get tough, it doesn't mean things are over. It just means we're given an obstacle, and it can become an opportunity to strengthen us and to make our life better, right? And we can learn from those things. So are you going to choose to give up in the moment, or are you going to choose to get up? And that change really needs to start with you. That's all I have today. I thought that was I thought what he shared really was powerful for me. Really changed how I thought about my life too. And I'm not a guy with no missing arms or legs, right? Sometimes we feel like, you know, the way we look, maybe our brain, we feel like our brain is not working the way we want to. It affects, how we perform and things like that, but that's because we think that we're at a disadvantage. We think that we can't do anything. But you got to change that, right? We have a brain. We have arms and legs compared with someone who doesn't. Like we have the advantage already, right? So take the day differently, approach it differently, end it differently, and it just take that small step. Just end it a little differently.